What if you could pull clean water straight out of the AR using nothing but a pile of rocks? Ancient engineers did exactly that. Some of their systems are still producing water right now. This is how they built them. In 1900, a Russian engineer named Frederick Zibold was excavating ruins on the Crimean coast. The ancient Greek city he was studying had no rivers nearby. Rainfall was almost zero, yet it had sustained tens of thousands of people for centuries. He expected to find the usual signs of a collapsed civilization: broken pottery, crumbled walls, the remnants of a people who had simply run out of options. What he found instead changed everything he thought he knew about ancient engineering. 14 massive stone mounds, arranged in a deliberate arc on the hilltops above the city, each one roughly 10 meters across, each one connected to a network of terracotta pipes that ran downhill and directly into the settlement below. These weren't graves, they weren't temples, they were water collectors. Every single night, cool air flowed through the gaps in the stone. Moisture condensed on the cold surfaces. Droplets formed, and by morning, clean water was running downhill into the city through those ancient pipes. No electricity, no chemicals, no infrastructure, just stone and the natural behavior of air. Zibold calculated that each mound produced up to 360 liters of water per day. That's nearly 95 gallons, per mound, per day, from nothing but rocks and the night sky. And these structures had been doing exactly that for over 2,000 years before Zibold ever set foot on that hillside. So how does it actually work? At night, stone cools down faster than the air around it. When warm, moisture-rich morning air flows through a pile of rocks, it hits those cold surfaces and condenses into liquid water, the same way a cold glass sweats on a humid day. That process is called radiative cooling, and it happens every single night in almost every climate on Earth. The ancient builders understood three things that made their systems incredibly effective. First, surface area. The more stone, the more condensation area. This is why their mounds were so large. A bigger mass of stone stays cold longer into the morning, which extends the condensation window well past sunrise when humidity is still high. Second, air flow. The stone had to be packed in a way that allowed air to move through the interior of the mound, not just across the outside. This is the detail most modern attempts get wrong. The cold surfaces inside the mound are where the condensation happens. If air can't reach them, the system fails. Third, collection. The entire base of the mound was sealed with an impermeable layer and sloped toward a central drain point. Every single drop of condensed water was captured and directed into a pipe. Nothing was wasted. Simple physics. Engineered to perfection. Over 3,000 years ago. And this wasn't a one-off discovery. In the Atacama Desert, one of the driest places on the entire planet, indigenous communities were building fog catchers from woven grass on elevated ridges over 1,500 years ago. Archaeologists found the remnants still partially functional when they excavated the sites. These weren't improvised survival tools. They were engineered structures, built in specific locations chosen for maximum fog exposure, designed to channel collected moisture into storage below. In the Negev Desert, the Nabateans, the people who carved petra from solid rock, built elaborate stone runoff systems that captured every trace of dew and directed it into underground cisterns. Their agricultural field patterns, designed to funnel the smallest rainfall into concentrated growing areas, are still visible from satellite imagery today. In a region that receives less than 100 millimeters of rain per year, they were farming at scale. And in ancient Persia, engineers built what may be the most audacious water system ever conceived. The Qanat, a gently sloping underground tunnel, hand-dug, sometimes stretching 70 kilometers, that followed the natural gradient of the water table and delivered pressurized water to entire cities using nothing but gravity. No pumps, no power, no maintenance bill, just patient, precise engineering. The city of Yazd in Iran still uses its original Qanat network, built 3,000 years ago, still flowing today, a UNESCO World Heritage Site where the ancient infrastructure outperforms modern alternatives. These weren't accidents. This was mastery. So why isn't any of this common knowledge? Think about it. The American water utility market generates over $100 billion every year. That entire industry is built on a single assumption, that you have no other option. That water comes from a pipe. The pipe belongs to a company, and the company sends you a bill. Passive water harvesting breaks that assumption completely. It doesn't show up on a grid. It doesn't generate a meter reading. It produces no bill and requires no account. From a utility company's perspective, it is completely invisible. And unlike solar panels, which utilities have successfully lobbied to tax, regulate, and credit at their own rates, a correctly built stone mound is impossible to monetize. Now consider this. In several states in the United States, collecting rainwater from your own roof has historically been restricted by law. The legal argument is that rainfall is already allocated to downstream water rights holders before it even hits the ground. In some jurisdictions, water that lands on your property does not legally belong to you. You cannot collect rain that falls on your land, but you can pay for that same water after it has been extracted, treated, and piped back to you at a markup. That is not an accident of policy. That is the policy. Now here's what makes this genuinely exciting. People are using these systems right now. In rural Chile, modern fog catchers built from mesh netting, stretched between poles, collect hundreds of liters per day in coastal highland communities that have no access to municipal water. The technology is direct descendants of what the Atacameno people built 1,500 years ago. The physics has not changed. In Morocco, villages in the Anti-Atlas Mountains have installed updated versions of traditional fog collection systems that now supply entire communities with clean water year-round. No pumps, no pipes from a central network, just elevation, airflow, and surface area. In Israel, researchers studying Nabatean runoff agriculture have successfully rebuilt ancient field systems that produce viable crops in areas receiving less than 80 millimeters of rain annually. The same stone arrangements, the same slope angles, the same results. And in the American Southwest, a growing number of homesteaders are experimenting with small-scale dew condensers, reporting consistent overnight yields even in high desert environments with low relative humidity. The key variable in every successful case is the same one Zibold identified in 1900. AR flow through the stone mass, not over it. The good news is that the core principles are simple enough to apply on almost any property. Start with site selection. Find the highest point on your land with good air exposure. A north-facing slope works best in the northern hemisphere because it stays cooler longer overnight, which extends the condensation window into the warmer, more humid morning hours. Next, your stone. Use angular, porous rock. Limestone chips or granite aggregate work well. Avoid smooth river stones. The rough, irregular surface area is what creates the condensation zones. Pack it into a mound with a hollow core and deliberate gaps so air moves through the interior, not just over the surface. At the base, create a sealed, sloped layer that directs all collected water to a single drain point. A pipe carries it downhill to a covered storage container. Even a buried 50-gallon food-grade barrel gives you a meaningful emergency reserve. A proof-of-concept mound at 1.5 meters across can yield 2 to 8 liters per night depending on your local DW point frequency and overnight temperature drop. You can find your historical dew point averages through any weather station archive for your region. Scale it up and those numbers change dramatically. The original Zibold condensers were 10 meters across, 14 of them, supplying an entire city every single day, with zero input, zero cost, and zero dependency on any external system. That city thrived for centuries in a landscape where nothing should have survived. Now look at your own property, your elevation, the temperature swing between midnight and dawn, the air that moves across your land every single night while you sleep. The same physics that kept those ancient settlements alive is happening right now, wherever you are. The dew point in your area is either crossed or it isn't. The stone is either cold enough or it isn't. The airflow either moves through the mass or it doesn't. These are variables you can measure, variables you can engineer around. The ancient builders figured that out with no textbooks, no universities, and no internet. The question is what you are going to do with the same knowledge.